Hello again. I am Bernie Mikolas, and you've reached The Bernie Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, I want to ask you for a favor. It won't take you much effort to do it. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's just one click, and all the video will come to you. You can also subscribe. You can also hit the like button on all the videos that you like, including mine. Anyway, we're all over all the teams you love, depending on your preferences. We're all over the St. Louis area sports teams, including Mizzou, St. Louis U, and don't forget we have live streams after every game those teams play. Right? All right, let's begin here on Thursday's Bernie Show on August the 21st. Today's topic: the top priority for Chaim Bloom when he takes over as the Cardinals president of baseball operations is starting pitching. There is no doubt in my mind, and I will absolutely explain why during this video. And I got some good research in here. Listen, the Cardinals have multiple weak spots and roster challenges. When I talk about starting pitching being the top priority, I'm not suggesting in any way that the rest of the team is in really good shape. No, there's a lot going on that needs to be upgraded, right? But Bloom's number one challenge and his number one priority should be his focus on improving this team's awful starting pitching for 2026. And of course, beyond that. St. Louis starting pitching has collapsed this season. And in a while, I'm going to give you an appalling statistic that tells you just how historically bad the Redbirds starting pitching has been over the last 3 seasons. I'm Mr. Numbers nerd, but even I was surprised by what I discovered. So I'll share that with you in a while. For now, let's talk about 2025. This season, the Cardinals ranked 26th among 30 teams with a 4.70 starting pitching ERA. It's even worse since June the 1st when the rotation began to unravel. Over their past 70 games, the Cardinals' 5.64 ERA for their starting pitchers is 29th. Only Colorado has done more poorly than that. I don't know about you. I'm kind of tired of watching Sonny Gray, Miles Mikolas, and Andre Pallante pitch. Now, Sonny Gray shouldn't be lumped in with the other two, but I'll explain why I included him here in a little while. Mikolas will be gone after the season, so that's something to look forward to. At least I won't have to listen to all this nonsense about how poor old Miles is a victim of soft contact and bad batted ball luck, and I won't have to listen to media praising him because he's at his locker after each start. No matter how bad it is, he's always there to answer questions. He's a stand-up guy. I don't know. Maybe there was once upon a time in my career I would have signed on to something like that. But the more I think about it over the years, the sillier it gets. You know, it's expected. This has been going on forever. Starting pitchers, whether they're terrible, whether they're great in the start, they appear before their locker and talk to the media. I mean, this is nothing new. And by the way, what is this? Am I supposed to give him a Medal of Valor? Is this like some sort of profile in courage? Because you talk to a group of media people and you might get one semi-tough question. Wow, what a hero. Anyway, I'm a bad person. Anyway, let's talk about what really matters. Fact, in terms of ERA, Miles Mikolas has been one of the worst starting pitchers in the majors over the last 3 seasons. That's based on facts. Irrefutable. Nothing personal here, and I mean that because it's not like I don't like dislike Andre Pallante personally, but I think we've seen enough, right? He was horrible again in Wednesday's loss to the Marlins in his last what is it here? My notes sometimes get scrambled. In his last, I believe, 6 starts. Oh, pardon me. His last 8 starts, Pallante has a 7.71 ERA, and in his last 14 starts, his ERA is 5.97. The Cardinals have a 3-11 record in those last 14 Pallante starts. 3-11. But of course, some of our friends in the TV booth want to tell us about poor old Pallante's lack of run support. Okay, I think there's truth in that. But how about, say, run prevention? Does that matter? Yeah, I think maybe that's a pitcher's number one job, right? Preventing runs. How about Pallante not getting smashed by hitters over and over again? How about Pallante actually trying to hold runners on base? Did you see the Marlins just running wild on him last night? Only 15 big league starting pitchers have been burned for more stolen bases this season than Andre Pallante. I mean, seriously, the walks, he's giving up more home runs. He doesn't hold runners on. His ERA just continues to balloon. Listen, Pallante's a grinder. I don't doubt his competitiveness or anything, or the way I think he holds himself accountable. But listen, you either pitch well or you pitch well, you're mediocre, or you're bad, and he's really, really bad. Now about Sonny Gray, I respect him, and while he still has ample strikeout pop, his performance has declined in 2025. Now, Sonny Gray fits into something you hear me talk about a lot. We in St. Louis, the media, the Cardinals themselves, I'm guilty of it too. We overrate Cardinals players. So in other words, like if somebody's a good player, right, above average player, we somehow portray him as like much better than that. And it's really a disservice. And again, I plead guilty to doing that myself at times, but I'm a lot more aware of that now, so I don't do it as much. But Sonny Gray's the latest example. Brendan Donovan's another example, but Sonny Gray's the latest example of that. He's a talented guy, and my goodness, he'll step up and he'll deliver beautiful starts from time to time. Don't get me wrong, but man, he has declined in 2025, and he just lacks consistency. His ERA has mushroomed to 4.30 this season. For perspective, consider this. Among big league starters that have thrown at least 120 innings so far, Gray's ERA ranks 48th among 68. And he's toting a 6.17 ERA in 9 starts since the end of June. And the Cardinals are 1-8 in those starts. No, actually, I take that back. Scratch that one. Let's leave it at Gray is toting a 6.17 ERA in 9 starts since the end of June. As I mentioned, Gray is capable of delivering some truly outstanding starts, but we've seen him melt in the summer heat. In his 2 seasons as a Cardinal, Sonny Gray, he's made 10 starts in the month of July. He has a 7.32 ERA in the month of July, and his ERA is, right around 440 or so in August of those 2 seasons. I mean, here's another way to put it. It kind of started. Sonny Gray was outstanding, and then right around July of last season, the hot weather started to get to him, but his performance wasn't the same really the rest of the season. So let me give it to you this way: since July 1st of last season, Gray's ERA is 4.48, and opponents have slugged 443 against him. Does that sound like an ace to you? Let's be honest here, okay? Does that sound like an ace to you? Is that a number one starter? Well, unless we all collectively have basically lost our minds and lowered our standards to something that is no longer recognizable. No, it's not an ace and it's not a number one starter. I respect him, but that doesn't mean he's a number one starter or an ace. Every now and then he pitches like that. But don't you think a number one starter has got to be consistent? Don't you think a number one starter or an ace starter, should be really good? And once the weather gets hot, he can't fall apart. I mean, come on now. Listen, what about the other 2 guys in this rotation right now? I'm fine with Matthew Liberatore and Michael McGreevy. They both are getting a chance to start in the big leagues for the first time in their careers, and I look forward to seeing how they both do in 2026. Libby's had problems again because he's pushing through the starting pitching load for the first time in the majors, and he hits the wall, and his stuff. He kind of flattened out there for a while. and his velocity dropped for a while, and he just had to push through it, and he's pushing through it. If you add it all up, because he got off to a fantastic start this year and then sort of faded out after that, now he's rallying a bit. Libby is exactly at league average this season if you go by adjusted ERA, which I like to use more and more. So he's exactly an average pitcher. And whenever I say something like that, I get a feeling people are saying, "Well, Bernie, you got to have guys that are better than average." Yeah, I know that. Okay, but a dude is first time in a major league starting who went through the usual challenge of like pushing through once your innings pile up. I'll take a guy with his talent and competitiveness who had to deal with some stuff this year. I'll take league average. I'll take it. I'm not saying that you want like a group of starters and they're all league average. No, you got to have some really great starters. But I think Libby's taken a pretty solid first step. That's all I'm saying. McGreevy has made progress since being installed in the rotation. The Padres knocked him around a little bit, but his adjusted ERA in his last 4 starts is 10% better than the league average, and I think he's got a 3.00 ERA in his last 3 starts, 3.75 ERA in his last 4 starts. Like to watch him pitch. I would think he'd be in the rotation next season, at the back end of the rotation. When I return for my second and final segment of today's Bernie Show, I got more to talk about how bad the starting pitching has been, not only this year, but over a 3-year period. And then we'll also get to what Chaim Bloom needs to do, or how can he improve on the starting pitching. But first, it's DraftKings time. And if you haven't played the DraftKings Pick 6 Daily Fantasy game before, well, there is plenty of time for you to join the fun for the final weeks of baseball's regular season. And then it's the baseball postseason. And soon we're going to have NFL football and college football. So don't stay on the sidelines. Hockey coming along right after that. Don't stay on the sidelines. Come on, jump in, play DraftKings Pick 6 Fantasy. Have a lot of fun and take your best shot at winning that cash. DraftKings Pick 6 makes it simple to get started. You just download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings, make your selections. Each day, DraftKings sets a stat line for major league hitters or pitchers for their next game, a variety of categories. So you go shopping at, on that DraftKings app, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So you just pick more or less on the stat line for 2 or more of your favorite players, and you're in the game, and you got a chance to win. I got one for tonight. Now, everything I said about Sonny Gray, I like a stat line set for him for tonight in Tampa Bay. The line is 17.5 outs recorded for Sonny Gray against the Rays. What that means is if he goes at least 6 innings tonight, that's 18 outs, and you win if you play more than 17.5 outs. I think Gray has a good chance to get those 18 outs, and this isn't I want to emphasize something. This isn't about how well he pitches, okay? It's about him giving you 6 innings at least. And I think he can do that. He had a short start against the Yankees the last time out. He's had quite a few short starts in recent weeks, more than a few, I guess. And so he should have plenty of fuel in the tank for this one. And the recent track record with this particular stat line, more than 17.5 outs, Gray has pitched at least 6 innings in 3 of his last 4 road starts, and in 4 of his last 6 road starts. And the weather forecast for Tampa Bay tonight, believe me, I looked it up. It's reasonable. It's not going to be the sweltering St. Louis summer thing. Gray has a hard time pitching in really hot weather, but I don't think that'll be a factor for him this evening. Not based on the forecast. Anyway, Pick 6 is available. Now I'm a meteorologist. Pick 6 is available here in Missouri, so there's nothing to hold you back. I really enjoy playing DraftKings Pick 6 Fantasy. I really think you'll like it too, because I know that I like it more and more as time goes on. Don't settle for smaller payouts at other places. You deserve better than that, so switch to DraftKings Pick 6, and you're going to be with the right people at the right place at the right time. Only thing left for you to do is make good picks and win that cash. Right now, new customers are going to receive $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. You just use the code STL Sports to make it happen. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with DraftKings Pick 6 Fantasy. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, thanks for staying with me here on the Bernie Show. Staying with me here, I should say, on the Bernie Show. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to hit that like button. That'll take you, 5 seconds? Come on, do it for the big fella here. One more note on the Cardinals rotation, not just for the season, but during a 3-year trend, 23, 24, 25. Since the start of the 23 season, the Cardinals ranked 26th among the 30 teams in starting pitching ERA. And their adjusted ERA is 13% below average. This is the result. It's something I've harped about constantly. This is the result of the glaring decline by this organization in the failure to develop homegrown starting pitchers and keep that supply chain moving. And unless that changes dramatically, like in right away, I can't envision the Cardinals being a contender for the postseason anytime soon. Oh, you can be in contention, but I'm talking about being a serious player in contention, not just kind of flirting with it, right? Let's get to that. From 2022 through 2024, the first 3 seasons of the expanded playoff format, right? 30 of the 36 teams that qualified for the playoffs had an adjusted starting pitching ERA that was no worse than league average. And only one of those 30 rotations were exactly at league average. The other 29 of the 36 were above average. So if you have a below average starting rotation during the regular season, your chances of making the playoffs is about 19%. If you have an above average rotation, your shot of making the postseason is 81%. And I want to give you one other thing about the last 3 seasons of Cardinals starting pitching. I'm using, once again, adjusted ERA, and let me explain that briefly for those who don't know. I like adjusted ERA because it neutralizes ballpark factors and the league trends in a given season. In other words, it takes into account whether, pitchers are working at Coors Field or they're working at a place where it's very much pitcher friendly and the hitters are at a disadvantage. And it neutralizes the league trends. In other words, because Major League Baseball messes around with the baseball so much from year to year. Sometimes power numbers are down league wide. Sometimes the power numbers are up league wide. So that's why adjusted ERA I've found to be more valuable tool, because it does take all of that stuff into account. It neutralizes the ballpark factors and the league trends in a given season. The adjusted, and again, I know it's a fancy pants thing and all that, but the adjusted ERA isn't all that much different than the regular ERA, but it's fine-tuned, right? It just gives you a sharper, more accurate reading of how well someone's pitching or how well his team is pitching. I like the fact that it's a fine-tuned version of ERA. Anyway, here's how the Cardinals starting pitching has performed in each of the last 3 seasons. 2023. 18% below league average. 2024, better, but 7% below league average. And in 2025 so far, Cardinal starting pitchers, 14% below the league average. Now, let me add some context if I could. And this is the stuff that I went, wow, I didn't realize that. Now I do. Now I'm sharing it with you. During the expansion era, which began in 1961, those 3 adjusted starting pitching ERAs for the Cardinals, the last 3 years, those 3 each ranked in the bottom 11 on that list of 65 seasons since 1961, starting with 61. All 3 of the adjusted ERAs in each of the last 3 seasons, they're all in the bottom 11 on a list of 65 seasons, Cardinal seasons. I also did some additional research because I said, well, what about, see, if those three performances in a row, 23, 24, 25, are so bad, or one of them wasn't like awful, but it was still below average. But what is that? What about all you go through these 3 season blocks since 1961. Cardinals starting pitching. Is this maybe the poorest 3-season block or 3-season stretch they've had in starting pitching during the expansion era? And I tell you what, the answer is yes, if we're including full seasons, and I'll get to that in a moment. But right now, depending on how 2025 finishes up, and I don't think it's going to be a big change at all for the better or for the worse. But in terms of adjusted ERA, we are seeing the 3 worst starting pitching performances by a Cardinals team over a 3-season block, or you want to call it a 3-season stretch, during the last 65 years. I mean, that's really bad. And now I said this only includes full seasons, and the 2025 season is not complete. So I wanted to acknowledge that. But looking at the way the trends are going, I don't see anything that's going to change dramatically between now and the end of the season to where it will alter that look at the worst 3 consecutive seasons for starting pitching in the last 65 years. There's nothing that is going to reshape that in a way that's going to sort of eliminate the point I was trying to make. The Cardinals are headed, unless there's something really crazy, they are headed to their worst 3-season stretch of starting pitching over the last 65 years. I mean, anybody out there still don't think that starting pitching should be the number 1 priority? Or maybe can I steal a line from John Mozeliak? I say, starting pitching is the number 1, number 2, and number 3 priority. Remember he said that about trading Arenado. Anyway, and I'm not trying to make fun of him. I'm just saying, is there anybody out there really thinks this is not the most urgent matter for the Cardinals to deal with on their road to try to get back to being an above average team, a playoff contender, a legitimate postseason contender, making a run in the postseason? This is where it starts, my friends. This is where it starts. You're not going to go anywhere when you're stuck in a stretch where you have the worst 3 seasons in a row over a 3-season block during the expansion era. So, to state it mildly, this is a serious issue. You think? Yeah. And anyone who thinks this shouldn't be Bloom's top priority probably doesn't really know about the value of above average starting pitching and what it can do for you. And I assume 99% of people do understand, but there's always some holdouts. And I think we should all recognize the consequences of having below average starting pitching. It's going to happen on occasion in a given year, here and there. But you can't be going through 3, 4, 5 seasons at a time of this. And the Cardinals have kind of flirted with that. This is their 3rd season in a row where they're well below average. If you look at it like a 3-year block, I think over the 3 years, they're like 13% below average since the start of 2023. That ain't going to help you get into playoffs. That's going to work very much against you getting into the playoffs. And in this expanded format. Now, there are exceptions, of course. I don't sit here trying to claim otherwise. For example, the Dodgers won the World Series last year, despite having a regular season rotation that was slightly below league average. Well, when you have their payroll and you can basically find as many good hitters as you want and pay them, one way you overcome bad starting pitching, or in their case, slightly below average starting pitching, is you put together an offense that can put a lot of runs on the board to compensate for any weakness in the starting pitching. I don't see the Cardinals as that kind of team anytime soon. Anyway, the Diamondbacks won the 2023 NL pennant with starting pitching that during the regular season performed 6% below the league average. So I guess we could say it was almost like the equivalent of what the 2024 Cardinals starting rotation is. But again, it's more than just the starting pitching. There are other ways to get in, right? Because again, I'm not saying it's all about the starting pitching. It's just the effective starting pitching greatly enhances your chances of playing postseason ball. But there are other ways to get in the postseason, like you win a terrible division, or you have a booming offense that can overcome any starting pitching flaws. And the bullpens, as we know, especially once you get to the postseason, are really important. But the most common denominator in getting teams into the past 3 postseasons in this expanded tournament field was strong starting pitching. That's where it all begins. Bloom has got a lot of hard work in front of him. I have no thoughts of grandeur here. I am not delusional. I do not expect a quick fix in 2026. I do expect progress. The Cardinals won't be spending big money on free agents, starting pitchers, so clear that from your minds. Ain't going to happen, okay? But I believe Bloom and his people, because of his background, Bloom and his people that he's bringing in who are really sharp people, the really sharp minds, they're going to be able to find some gems out there that are overlooked or underrated by other teams. And when I say gems, I'm talking about finding really good value for the dollar. And that should be a Bloom specialty given his track record with the Rays. And this is what you need at this point in time because the Cardinals will not be raising payroll in any significant way for 2026. So, yeah, you need to find those hidden value players and pitchers. Another way to improve starting pitching is to trade for it this offseason that's almost here, not too long. There should be a market that fits the Cardinals' quest to go trade for a young starting pitcher or two who are maybe major league ready because the Cardinals have a lot of left-handed hitters. They got too many of them. That should interest potential trade partners because they were getting a lot of calls on those left-handed hitters at the trade deadline. And Bloom is going to have to move some left-handed batters to correct the roster imbalance and the positional overcrowding. So the other way to put better starting pitching in place is to develop your own. The Cardinals are making some headway in that area. I wouldn't be surprised if I would be surprised if we don't see lefty starting pitching prospect Quinn Matthews in the rotation at some point in 2026. And Liam Doyle, the 5th overall pick in this year's draft, he's got a chance to do a Michael Wacha and get to the majors in an accelerated schedule. But we also know that pitchers break down. And the Cardinals have lost several promising pitching prospects to arm-related surgeries this season, including Tekoa Roby and Cooper Jerpy. Can I throw in one stat here? I looked this up at Spot Rack earlier. It's related to starting pitching in my reference to pitchers break down. This season right now, as of Thursday morning, it's according to Spot Rack, major league teams, there have been 151 pitchers injured, right, that have missed over 12,000 days combined, right? And the amount of money they have collected while being on the injured list, all of them put together, is like $379 million. Like I said, pitchers break down. And it's not only you lose the pitcher, but if the pitcher's really, really good, then you're losing a lot of value in, say, the starting rotation that you put together. All of a sudden, one of the guys you were counting on to be your best or your second best ain't there. So it's kind of the double blow, right? Anyway, over time, I am confident we're going to see a revival of the Cardinals tradition, developing young starting pitching within your system. The Cardinals were for a long time one of the best teams in the majors at doing this, and that goes all the way back to as far as you want to go. Yeah, there's some laws because there's always going to be some laws, but they've been really, really good at it up until recent years. The list of successful starters developed internally by the Cardinals and, going back to, going back to 2006 or so, 2007. And that list includes Michael Wacha, Lance Lynn, Jack Flaherty, Carlos Martinez, Jaime Garcia, Joe Kelly, and Shelby Miller. But it goes beyond that. By the way, if you want to go back to the late 1990s, because Matt Morris was a big part of some really good teams they had, especially 2004, Matt Morris would be on that list too, Cardinals Hall of Famer. But I said it goes beyond that because the Cardinals also traded some of their young homeschooled starters to boost the team in other areas. Examples, got a lot of them actually. Bud Smith going to Philadelphia for Scott Rowland. Luke Weaver being in that deal with Arizona for Paul Goldschmidt. Manny Ibar and Jose Jimenez dealt to Colorado so the Cardinals could get Darryl Kyle. Austin Gomber was flipped to Colorado in the trade for Nolan Arenado. The Rockies got Chris Narveson, who was the guy they wanted the most. Chris Narveson, a lefty pitcher, in the deal that brought Larry Walker here in 2004. Joe Kelly, who was one of the guys they developed and did a really good job of developing him. He was eventually traded to Boston in a deal for starting pitcher John Lackey. And Lackey not only helped pitch the Cardinals into the postseason in 2014 and all the way to the NLCS, he was outstanding in 2015 for a Cardinals team that won 100 games that year. Another home-developed pitcher, Anthony Reyes, had a fantastic moment in 2006. He outpitched Justin Verlander in the Cardinals' crucial victory over the Tigers in World Series Game 1. Another guy that was traded to get help elsewhere. Remember when the Cardinals traded Shelby Miller in the deal that brought Jason Hayward here for one season? Cardinals thought they could sign Hayward, offered him a lot of money, but he wanted to go to that young and up-and-coming team in Chicago. So he signed with the Cubs. The road back to being a contender begins with understanding what's really important. Effective starting pitching is really, really, really important. You know why? Because we've seen the opposite of that the last 3 seasons, and this will be the 3rd season in a row where the Cardinals will not play postseason ball. Yeah, starting pitching, really, really good, really, really effective starting pitching is vitally important. And Chaim Bloom doesn't need me or anyone else to tell him that. He knows it. I'm just looking forward to see what he'll be doing about it. This will be a fascinating offseason. In a lot of ways, I think it's going to be more interesting than the actual regular season in 2025. Hey, that's it for today. I appreciate you watching me and for leaving your comments. Criticize if you want. It's all good. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel here at STL Sports Central. I'll be back tomorrow with another Bernie Show video for Friday presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Have a great day.